At a time when global power equations are continuously shifting with unprecedented speed, India is leveraging geoeconomic disruptions into a strategic advantage. Fueled by resilient growth and a robust demographic dividend, India is actively shaping the narrative of global economic engagement. These points were brought in focus in the recently concluded 11th edition of the Times Network India Economic Conclave held in New Delhi. This year, the theme of IDFC First Bank Presents India Economic Conclave was Navigating Geoeconomics, in line with the current flux in the world order. In this episode, Sumit Madan, MD and CEO of Axis Max Life Insurance, shares how life insurance can be simplified and digitized for first-time buyers. With over 25 years of experience building and scaling institutions across banking and insurance, he brings a rare combination of strategic foresight, deep customer understanding, and execution excellence.
Thank you for having me, Sajid. I think I come from a banking industry. It's been around a little less than 2 years for me in the insurance sector. When I joined in, we were faced with some of the surrender guideline changes, and you would recall them very well. That happened. Post that, for example, we saw GST 2.0 as a major change. And whenever such a large change happens in the industry, you have your share of cynics, you have your share of pessimists. But when I have to look back both at the surrender guideline changes or the GST changes, I think those have been a step in the right direction. The sales have picked up across protection. The biggest beneficiary in this entire campaign is obviously the customer at large who stands to gain. Coming on to your specific question around the bill yesterday, again, I personally feel it just benefits a lot of Indians put together. You have 100% FDI, so there is more advent of players coming in. More players obviously will keep companies like us on our toes because you have to keep offering the very best in terms of products and services to the customer. I think it also helps, like in the opening remarks, they were discussing about the underserved category of insurance in India. It will also help us ramp up those numbers. More importantly, when you go through the changes in the bill yesterday, there's a lot of discussion around making it from a regulatory perspective, making it more transparent, some of the services there. So I am pretty optimistic. I think it's been some very defining changes, but all these changes, not just yesterday, but when I look at the last 2 years, all those changes have been finally very beneficial to the customer.
No, I just want to slip in a UC question here because the bill also allows you to merge an insurance company with a non-insurance company, and you've been trying for a couple of years to merge Access Max Life with Max Financial Services. Do you think that now that is closer to reality?
We are very positive. We always said that for us, reverse merger is the right step ahead. Yesterday's bill makes it slightly more easier now. We are just waiting for the SOP and the process to be rolled out. To answer your question, yes, it's a very positive development for us.
One of the biggest thing that happened was the GST on life insurance being removed. How protection has been performing after September 22nd?
That's a very relevant question. And I think everyone must know that the protection numbers have actually jumped up post September 22nd. And in all candor, we initially thought it's a bit of a pent up demand. People haven't bought a policy just preceding September 22nd, the last 2 weeks or so. But the surge in protection demand has actually continued for us and the industry at large. And we were monitoring it week by week, with the exception of 3 days, which is Diwali, and 2 days around Diwali. We've seen a growth in the protection numbers since then. At our level, the growth is almost around 70% odd in terms of the protection numbers over last year. So we've obviously seen the demand really moving up, courtesy protection. I think credit to, of course, the government, but I think also the communication part that the insurance companies have done is a big step. And I think that has also made the difference.
Interesting that you said that protection is still growing because when you look at consumption and latest inflation numbers, indicate that there may be it was a one-off kind of surge in consumption, and we are just plateauing again with respect to consumption in urban markets. And protection, you're saying, is growing week over week. Do you see now that we have a digital infrastructure in place? You have zero GST in that sense. Uh, it is a big runway for penetration of products like protection for the industry.
Yeah. I think for many of us who are privileged to be able to go to the rural hinterland of the country and also have the opportunity to go outside India, One thing we've all done exceptionally well is creation of the digital infrastructure in the financial space. Some of the tools that we have, the digital stack that we have is unparalleled. If you look at UPI, the number of users who are there, if you look at the number of internet users, like I said, I come from a banking industry, just the ease of transferring money, whether it's NEFT, RTGS, and the trust and conviction you have behind it and the timeliness of it, I think on the digital financial infrastructure space, India has done an exceptionally good job in terms of penetration. As far as life insurance is concerned, to your question, I think more work needs to be done. In the opening pitch, they spoke about 4% penetration, depending on what data you're looking, whether it's 2.8, 3, or 4%. There is surely more work that needs to be done. Digital will now help us accelerate that pace. And that is something that all the companies, the industry collectively is working on, even from regulators' perspective. The entire concept around Bima Sugam, Bima Trinity, some of those interventions that the regulator is also doing will only fasten the pace for life insurance, especially on the protection side.
And the way mutual funds have been able to push the product across, do you think that this is that inflection point for insurance companies to push now insurance products?
Yeah, I've seen a similar cycle as far as banking is concerned. So good that you asked that. When this entire trinity around Jan Aadhaar and then, Aadhaar and then mobile jam, as it's called, came in, not many people were bullish in terms of the effectiveness of the same. I rightfully feel, and I think you use the right word of the point of inflection, whether it's there. With the help of Finity, digitization, and a cheaper protection plan, I think this is the moment as far as the life insurance industry is concerned. I think insurance has to become more of a habit in terms of the purchase of the product, and that's something that has to change. We also realize that the younger population is becoming more aware about the insurance. But again, is it translating into an action in terms of buying insurance? Answer is no. We keep on discussing, we meet a lot of young people, and these young people often ask us, what if I don't die? Mere paise to waste ho jayenge. I don't know how to answer that question at times because they're doing a comparison with, let's say, car.
But have you attempted answering that question?
Yes, we have. We often compare it with the car insurance also. And we keep telling them, you buy a car insurance, you buy a Ferrari, for example. The expectation is not that your Ferrari will get tokoed the next day. You obviously want your Ferrari to be as spick and span and in a new condition. Till you buy an insurance for any eventuality. Similar is the case of a life insurance. If you buy insurance for your Maruti car, why wouldn't you buy a life insurance for your family? And I personally feel this is the best gift you can do your family. And like they say, the sooner you start, the better it is. That's the reason why we have the campaign Sabse Pehle Life Insurance. We often also keep telling them that the sooner you buy, it's also cheaper as well. So more and more reasons to buy life insurance at a very young age.
No, you did a survey. You said IPQ survey, which is there. What has been the trends from that survey with respect to protection and retirement trends?
Yeah, that's an important one. It's been a bit of an eye opener for us, both these surveys. First and the foremost, for example, on the retirement index as well, somewhere this entire magical number of 1 crore is floating. Everyone feels that 1 crore as a corpus is enough for me. This does not take into account the lifestyle, the requirements, the time horizon, so on and so forth. I don't know if it's too many influencers who've been able to influence on this magical number of once a year, but it may be factually incorrect.
They're used to saying how to make one crore fast.
Yes, you are absolutely right. So that's been one of the starting points for us that we have to break this notion. Two, I think interestingly, 60% of Indians still believe that family will support me in my retirement years. And with more nuclearization of the families happening, we've also realized while everyone may wish for the same, it may not be really playing out in its truest sense. Third, what also has typically happened is something around protection plan. The younger generation here, like you mentioned, is actually open to the idea of moving into riskier assets. And we always keep telling them, you may invest into the riskier assets, but you can't ignore life insurance or some of the safer products to begin with. And that's where the concept of asset allocation really becomes a key starting point. There's been a lot of finding as part of the survey also around emotional awareness. We also need to bear in mind there's a lot of talk, lot of discussion around how India is one of the youngest countries. 20-25 years down the line, one fourth of our population will actually be in a senior citizen category. That's like now another 20-25 years or so. So I think from that perspective, we realize emotionally there is a bit of a vacuum as to how Indians will live. Lastly, also we need to understand that the life expectancy in a country like India is now increasing.
Hmm.
People are living more, which also means your retirement years are only increasing. So you have to plan it well. You have to start planning early. You have to do it in structured way. There are enough financial advisors available in the market. And my request to everyone in the room, whosoever is watching your program, please, enough financial calculators available. Find the right requirement for life insurance for the retirement corpus that you may have.
What should be the ideal amount of protection that
Again, it depends. It's very difficult to, I don't want to say once a year.
there's a lot of advertisement that happens saying that so 50 rupees per day for 1 crore
Yeah.
protection,
Yeah. Yeah.
which the industry is doing. So I just wanted to ask you, what should be the ideal protection for an individual?
The communication that often you spoke about 50 rupees a day, the communication at times also with some of the younger population is the kind of money you spend on, let's say, one of the fancy coffee shops. Typically, at an 700, 800 rupees or so, you'll be able to get a 1 CR protection, 7 to 800 rupees per month. You'll be able to get a 1 CR protection. So I think that's really the good starting point as in when you start earning. So I think as in when and with the help of some of the life insurance plans, the way the products are designed today, as your income goes up, as your responsibility goes up, you can then keep on increasing or keep on having your structured products accordingly. You may be young and single today, but as responsibilities increase, you get married, you have kids, and your income goes up. There is a very compelling case to keep on increasing your protection amount as well.
It's interesting that you said we are your lifestyle partner. So increasingly, will you think? Do you think that protection will become a lifestyle product as well?
The amount or the corpus that you intend to have obviously goes up. We have often seen most of the people buy insurance when they get married or when they have their first kid. So typically, somewhere the psychology is still the same. It's just that we need to just partner at every stage and make them realize that this is the right product for you at every stage of life.
What worries you the most in terms of India's readiness for financial planning, or you know, uh, financial readiness for a family?
Yeah, I think all of us are worried about the fact that we can't ask for a better opportunity. Like we started by saying, and you rightfully asked, in terms of the digital stack, India is ahead compared to many of the countries. In terms of the cost of the product, India is amongst one of the most competitive markets. With GST 2.0, it's only help. In terms of the demographics of the country, there is no better country right now, really, to be from a life insurance perspective. If a combination of all this as well can't really force us on a path where the penetration increases, then I would personally say that we've really failed the nation as an industry. And that's the biggest worry because everything is coming together. And if still we can't increase the penetration, then probably we need to introspect more as to what mistakes we've done. I think regulator is playing an exceptionally good role in this direction. So I think the most worrisome factor, despite all these things coming together at the right time, point of time, mentioned about the point of inflection, if still we can't increase the penetration in the country, then that's the biggest worry.
If you look at the various strata in the economy, or whether it's young salaried employees, or for that matter, self-employed or MSMEs, where do you see the maximum gap with respect to insurance products?
Yeah, very relevant. I think even in the banking industry, we used to say that India is a country of self-employed. And that to my mind is one of the missing link along with some of the Gen Z or the younger population which is there are being products curated specifically for the self-employed segment in the MSME segment. So I think those are moving, but yeah, a lot more need to be done. But to answer your question, I think some of the self-employed in the MSE segment, it's a large segment, and there are various surrogates available today in terms of calculation of the income. Again, data digital is helping the cause. Similarly, the younger population, just to make them, just to force them to take an action towards buying of life insurance. I think that's another key aspect that we really, all of us are working on.
And what are the kind of partnerships that you're doing or industry should be doing to ensure that this gap can be bridged faster?
I think, like we said, awareness is increasing, but action is not. So I think action is taken across all levels. If you look at the life insurance industry as a whole, starting from a Rohit Sharma to any of the brand ambassadors who really are one of the most common names in the country, everyone is across most of the life insurance partners. The tie up with some of the institutes in terms of education, whether it's graduation or post graduation, just in terms of having some kind of an incubation with them, those are the kind of partnerships which again are helping the cause. Some of the forums like these, because some of the far reaching impact, like for example your channel has, I think it obviously helps spread the right message. So I think across levels, various steps are being taken to let the customers know. Some of the government interventions around the rural segment, for example, the RUSO as it's called, which is your rural and social obligation, where the regulator has given all the insurance companies some very defined targets, allocated states,
Hmm.
allocated gram panchayats. It's that specific that these are the gram panchayats in these specific states where the penetration has to move from X to Y. That also brings in a lot more pressure, but that also courtesy the data that makes the job easier as well. So I think those are some of the initiatives which
So what
are.
are the challenges that you face for that? Because the regulator or the government is giving you targets to meet those, but when you go on the ground, what is the kind of challenges that you face?
I think just the ability to be able to convince a normal customer in a rural sector that you need to buy life insurance. We spoke about some of the emotional needs earlier. In some of the rural markets, for example, it's a very emotional topic more than a financial decision. It's a very emotional topic. We've been to many customers where the lady of the house may just come out and say, "My husband doesn't need insurance. I don't need insurance. मैं इनके मरने का वेट करूंगी क्या?" So we have realized these are not really mere financial conversations. They touch a soft nerve. So the communication has to be accordingly. Two, I think we spoke about the nuclear families in a village, for example, in rural areas. I think the social ecosystem is far more stronger. So the customer obviously feels that even if something happens to him or her, there is this entire ecosystem or the support system available in the rural areas as well. So I think those are some of the challenges or notions we still need to break.
What about consumer behavior? Because that's something which is important, right? I mean, we saw in the mutual fund industry using its campaign very well. You started off with a good campaign, सबसे पहले insurance.
That's right.
Uh, do you see impact have of that have on consumer behavior as a whole?
I think mutual fund had a great campaign. Credit to the entire industry for staying with it. सबसे पहले mutual fund सही
सही
है,
है.
सब mutual fund सही है. I was a part of the industry on the other side. I have to say it didn't start immediately having some kind of attraction or results. So I think some of these campaigns do take some time to really have its full effectiveness. The important part is that we've started the campaign. The early results are quite encouraging.
Hmm.
Some of the discussion that we are doing post GST 2.0 also, I think when you look at an attribution of factors, all these are playing a critical role. So, सबसे पहले life insurance along with GST 2.0, along with the digital stack. So, I think everything is helping the cause just push the numbers up.
And what about making it a habit as well?
Yeah,
We have a lot of young workforce which is entering into.
yeah.
Uh, how do you make it a part of their entire work culture of when you're entering the workforce, then you need to have an insurance in place?
Yeah, that's true. We are doing a lot of work around it. So just working with various corporates as a case in point in terms of making it a national habit, because I think you've used the right term. Today, for example, insurance is not your top of mind recall. Life insurance specifically is not your top of mind recall. It's not a product where you get up in the morning and start planning for that. It seems like a lot of this discussion is still slightly coerced. But I think the corporates, various institutes are also bringing in more attention to it. So whether as a bank or whether as a life insurance company, when we go and meet a corporate, we discuss about the entire corpus. In that corpus, for example, we tell the client at large, do mutual funds, do your SIPs, but do not forget life insurance. It's for a specific need, specific understanding. And I think some of those awareness campaigns are slowly but surely are bearing fruits for us.
India's demography, if you look, which is a young one, is increasingly tilting towards products which give them return also at the end of the day. The younger ones who younger workforce which is there. How are you innovating your products so that it gives them both protection as well as
Yeah,
returns?
very relevant. ULIPs, for example, when I came into the financial industry, the kind of cost structure which used to be on ULIP is not the case any longer. We always talk about an Excel sheet where you plot the cost over the 10-year period or so. You'll find ULIP actually to be cheaper than many of the equity products per se as well. So I think that's a big, large change that has happened. So any customer who wants the protection along with a kind of a market participation, those products today are available in India at a very cheap price. So it just caters to exactly the requirement that you mentioned. And we realize there is a need. There are these customers who want this kind of a product also. It's just that you'll have to stay for the long term, which is the key as far as life insurance is concerned.
Sumit, it was a pleasure talking to you today.
Thank you
Thank
very
you very much.
Thank you, Bhai. It's a pleasure. Thank you.